From the Joy News Center. This is News at 8.
This is the prime time news bulletin here on Joy News on Multi TV, available across Europe via ABN television in London. In this edition, Interior Minister hints of possible lifting of curfew imposed on Nankpandure in the northern region. Police confiscate hundreds of motorbikes in coordinated operation across the capital. It says it's part of a new approach to fighting crime. 32 million Ghana cedis spent on Sada forestation project in the northern region turns up no trees but desolation. Residents of Accra suburb protest siting of waste processing facility where a recreational center was earmarked in defiance of EPA directive. And one district in the Upper West region says schoolboys who impregnate their female counterparts and cause them to drop out of school will also be thrown out of school until their victims are able to return to the classroom. We also have business news, sports, showbiz, and international news all coming up in the next 60 minutes. Do stay tuned.
Zad 8 with Israel Lai.
The Interior Ministry has given indications that curfew imposed on the northern region town of Nankpandure could be lifted this Friday. It follows assurances from the chief of the area, David Kantuk, that there will be no further disturbances if the curfew is lifted. The Interior Minister Kutiahoy told the chief he is equally eager to have the curfew lifted, but says his assurances will come in handy. The dusk to dawn curfew was imposed last week after communal violence claimed lives and property there. We do apologize for the loss in sound on that video there. But the police in Accra Tuesday embarked on a sting operation targeted at criminals who use motorbikes in their activities. Position at vantage points, the officers involved in the operation arrested all motorbike riders who came their way and released them only after their details had been taken and found to have genuine registration documents. The Nima division, which impounded nearly 300 of the motorbikes, says the operation is a new strategy being used by the police to control crime.
The Nima district pitched camp at the Paloma traffic lights along the Ring Road early Tuesday morning, and by 9 a.m. over 30 motorbikes had been impounded. The riders were allowed to collect their properties from the motorbikes and only told it was a general operation.
I had my stuff in my box on my way to my normal schedule. I got here and I was asked to stop, so I just complied. And so I spoke to my bosses, which of course they are all here.
The moment I reached here, they asked me to stop. What's the reason why I'm so? They say they are doing screening. Screening for what? They are protecting us. For what? They say some of our colleagues that don't have papers, so we have to stop any bike, whether you are EMS, DHL, you are stopping any bike. And I asked them for how long. They say we have to meet at the station. But I don't know what is going on. And when you ask them, they say, just bring your papers.
I'm just on my normal duty, and then they just stopped me and arrested me. They said they are arresting any motorbikes, and then I was arrested. That they are taking me to the station before they will verify my documents, and then if my documents are genuine, and then they release me. That's what they said. You have your documents? I have my documents, everything. You can see it in my hand. I tried showing them it to them. They said they can't do anything unless they take it to DVLA to verify.
The team also embarked on a similar operation in Nima and Newtown. But here, they were not very successful, as some of the riders managed to escape. Others also got violent and were taken into custody. By 1:30 in the afternoon, quite a number of riders were yet to have their motorbikes released to them, with virtually all of them clueless as to why their bikes were being detained.
So if I have my motor and with all inscriptions written on the motor, my insurance, my license, my documents, and you still let me spend a whole day here, that is my problem. At the end of the day, if I'm marked for working on each day, I'm not going to be marked. Or a little document, if I'm not able to present it at the close of the day, my company might lose a whole contract. That will fetch the company money to pay me.
We are working with companies, so if they are doing operation, they have to even consider the company that we are working with before maybe you're doing the operation. And I asked one of the policemen that what are the documents that they need before they release the bag for, and then so they need the motor papers. So I went back to our office at Asalam Dam to go and pick the papers to come and show it to them. It can even make the company lose their job, and then I'll lose my job.
Shortly after that, though, the Nima Divisional Commander, Chief Superintendent Nuhu Jango, briefed the media, providing some insights as to what the operation was all about.
The Regional Commander, in collaboration with the Regional Security Council and Inspector General of Police, mandated us to clamp down on these motorbikes and then screen owners, find out those who have genuine documents. Intelligence have shown that most of these numbers are numbers of accident vehicles which have been rebranded and put on motorbikes. So we are going to vet all those things. And all over Accra, this exercise was carried out simultaneously. So it was not as if you ran away from Nima, you could get safe haven or Doko because police was operating.
He added that all those whose motorbikes had been detained would be screened and released, except for those who are unable to produce genuine registration documents. Those, according to him, will be processed for court. A total of 297 motorbikes were detained under the Nima division, 102 at the airport police station, 92 at Nima, 30 at Kotobabi and 73 at Legon.
Return to our earlier story where the Interior Minister has been dropping hints that the curfew on Nankpanduri would be lifted pretty shortly, in fact, this Friday.
It's one thing putting a curfew, and the other thing getting our brothers and sisters going to their farm in peace, knowing very well that they will come back in one piece. I'm in a hurry to lift the curfew because it limits our freedom, the freedom of movement. It hurts our other jobs. I've talked about the farming job. But on my own, I cannot lift the curfew unless and until NABA, aided by the Regional Security Council and the District Security Council, ask me to do so. We can only lift the curfew if there's an assurance that peace has returned or will return, and that people can go about their work free from fear. Since we imposed the curfew, there has been no shooting, no death. But does that mean there is peace? Maybe the curfew, like
the Medical and Dental Council has submitted its final report on investigations into the missing baby saga at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. The submission of the report coincides with a deadline issued by the ministry in its quest to bring closure to the matter. Public Relations Officer at the Ministry of Health, Tony Goodman, however, says the Nursing and Midwifery Council failed to meet the deadline.
In February this year, The body of a stillborn baby went missing at the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital, fueling attacks on the hospital staff by relatives of the mother, Sweba, who demanded the authorities produce the corpse to confirm that indeed the baby was dead. The fallout caused the health minister to institute investigations into the matter, leading to the removal of the hospital's chief executive, having been asked to proceed on leave. This was ahead of the conclusion of investigations the minister demanded from the two councils by April 15. The Health Ministry PRO confirms the 70-page report has been submitted by the Medical and Dental Council. Its contents cannot yet be made public.
We've received some letters from the Nursing and Midwifery Council requesting for extension of dates for the submission of their reports. For Medical and Dental Council, they have they are doing the necessary documentation to submit their report. I can't tell you what is in it, but I hope that after their submission, the committee will look at it and would advise the minister accordingly. But for the Nursing and Midwifery Council, they brought a letter requesting for an extension. So we are also looking at that. We will not show anybody. We will continue to be there for the public. Our staff will also be there for them. But where the need be, that we crack the whip, we're going to do that.
He also denied media reports suggesting the ministry had offered some money as compensation to Suebe's family.
We've not mentioned any of the statements we've issued. We've not mentioned any of the press conferences we've held here that we are giving any amount of money. We've not mentioned it. But if some of those things are reported in the media, I would wish to believe that it is not the ministry. I'm not referring to the ministry, but maybe somebody is offering. Maybe somebody out there, not the Ministry of Health. At the last press conference, we mentioned that we're going to meet with the woman and the family. Why are we doing that? You need to restore hope. This woman is alive and will continue to seek for healthcare delivery. You need to create that kind of atmosphere that you can easily say that I'm going to hospital. She will still be, she might be pregnant and she would want to seek for healthcare. You don't let people feel that bad that they see hospital to be their enemy. That is what the ministry, we are there for. We are saying that people should have courage to visit hospital. So if you have one person saying that I am not okay with service delivery, as a ministry, you have to go there and talk. Those are some of the things we're going to do.
Some health officials have also been arrested and are facing prosecution for their involvement in the matter.
And we have more news coming up. Stay tuned.
All it takes is letting go. It's only when you do that you truly win. That's when you experience the magic of each moment. Like it's the first time. All it takes is letting go. A great man once said, the world is won by those who let go. At Star Assurance, we take care of the things you care about, so you are free to be all you can be. Let go and let Star. Talk to us today. Star Assurance, your solid partner.
The Minister of Trade and Industry has warned of the potential disruption in Ghana's exports to EU markets if the country fails to commit to the Economic Partnership Agreement by October 2014. Addressing journalists at the Meet the Press series in Accra, Haruna Idrisu says Ghana necessarily has to take a decision after an impending stakeholder meeting with civil societies.
According to the minister, the agreement allows Ghana to have 100% access to the European market, except for rice and sugar, while EU countries would have 75% access to the Ghanaian market, duty-free and quota-free. He noted that currently over 40% of the country's exports goes to the EU market, and therefore wondered what would happen to the economy when the EU denies the nation entry. He predicted dire consequences for Ghana.
That the EU as a regional bloc have given 1st October 2014 as a deadline to which, if we don't commit to the market access regulation, they would not allow us access to the EU market. So note that the EU have taken a position ratified by the EU Parliament that on or after 1st October 2014, if Ghana does not sign and ratify an economic partnership agreement, we risk losing access to the EU market on the basis of the market access regulation, which is replacing the Cotonou trade agreement per 2008. If we do not sign, it may lead to a potential disruption of our exports. And we need to take a decision as a country which is in our best national interest and to prepare our capacities to respond to it.
He however announced that in anticipation of government's decision on the EPA, the ministry has launched an export strategy and national export development program to help identify strategies that can develop Ghana's export base.
We have launched the national export strategy, which is seeking to increase our exports from the current $2.3 billion to $5 billion by end of 2017. And we are beginning to put in place the National Export Development Program in identifying the extent to which we can take advantage of an open EU market to increase our export base.
The Trade and Industry Minister further added that signing the partnership will challenge Ghana to build its competitiveness, increase the capacity of local industries, and increase exports to take advantage of the opportunity. Matilda Pamaga for Joy News.
Residents of Teshie Greater Estate here in Accra are angry at city authorities for citing a waste processing facility at the former Teshie compost plant, despite a ban notice by the Environmental Protection Agency. The residents are serving notice they would hit the streets if work continues on the project. Here's a report by Justice Beidou.
The Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology, in an agreement dated 15 June 2009, contracted Zoom Lion Ghana Limited to decommission the Teshie dump site to be used as a recreational ground. This followed years of deteriorating sanitation at the area after the plant, constructed in 1979 for the manufacture of fertilizer for local farmers, broke down in 1986 and over the years evolved into a refuse dump. 5 years on, there is no recreational facility to show. Rather, a waste processing plant has been put up without permission from the EPA. It is unclear who is behind this project, but Joy News investigations indicates that another agreement has been signed between the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, the Lojokuku Krowo Municipal Assembly, Zoom Lion, and EWS, a Turkish company, for the waste transfer plant to be constructed, contrary to the initial agreement. The EPA, in a letter dated 3rd April 2014, ordered work on the facility to stop, but that has not happened.
When they are putting the building, we thought it was a recreational ground that they are building. Later, before we heard that it was this thing, they are coming again. In fact, help us, else we will fall sick. Those days, we've been going to chicken pox, whatever it was.
At this moment, we don't know what they were doing. We heard that they are bringing another baller here too. So we, the residents, we doesn't like it, because it's creating problem to us, sickness, diseases, flies and other things. So we don't want it.
We are not against the project that is going on. We are only against the siting of the project, because it was there formally and it was causing havoc.
And everybody knows that this place is no more a dumping site. Now the Zoom Lion company who was awarded this contract is doing something else. When you go to AMA website, you see that they are now carrying out another project unknown to residents here.
Workers at the site, most of whom are Turkish, turned down our request for an interview and would not allow us to film.
I wasn't in when this project started. They confidently told me that they are going to EPA. They are going to this place so that later they will inform me, so that we can sit down and see our way forward. I was waiting. This morning, they brought me this letter. This morning, they brought me this letter that the EPA people says they haven't given them the go ahead. I was trying to reach the managers and I think the director, so that I will know what is happening there. All of a sudden, you people have come.
MCE for Lekma, Seth Bedutewias, says he has tried stopping the project, even though his office is supposed to be part of the agreement for the work to be done. Though the residents hailed the idea of a waste processing facility, they fear the outbreak of diseases as the area would now be a garbage transfer site. Justice Beidou, Joy News.
Girls in the Barima Osei Asare district who are forced to prematurely end their education due to pregnancy will no longer be made to suffer the consequences alone. Authorities say those who are responsible, if they happen to be in school, will also be made to forfeit their education for as long as their victims stay out of school. This, they say, should help reduce the increasing number of teenage pregnancy cases being recorded in the district. Rafiq Salam filed this report after an exclusive interview with the Barima Osei Asare DCE.
According to the DCE, the district has so far identified about 30 girls impregnated within the 2013-2014 academic year alone, with some teachers named as being responsible. Majority of the cases, he said, were coming from the Kujukberik circuit. He described the situation as worrying and unacceptable and laid the blame on parents, pupils and the Education Directorate for not playing their roles effectively. He noted with sadness that all the girls have dropped out of school, while the men responsible for their plight are still going about their normal duties without any punishment. He said education is the bedrock of every community and called on all actors in the education sector to make conscious effort to nip the practice in the bud before it destroyed the future of girls in the district. The DC said the government has done tremendously well in the education sector in the district by eliminating schools which hitherto were under trees and replacing them with decent classrooms, and also increasing both the capitation grant and the number of schools under the Ghana School Feeding Program.
If, for instance, a boy impregnates a girl and they're in the same school, now the guy goes to the school, he continues to go to the school while the child dropped out. I think that one of the sanctions we have indicated we want to apply is that when that happens, what is going to happen is that the boy too will have to wait until the girl gives birth. And when the girl gives birth and continues, we want to ensure that we police all of them such that as soon as they finish a delivery and the baby is okay, they will go back and continue their education. In that case, we'll let the boys also go back to continue. Otherwise, just to serve as a deterrent even to the boys that are involved in this thing.
The Member of Parliament for the Barima Osei Asare constituency, who also doubles as chairman of the Education Select Committee in Parliament, Matthias Buza, was equally worried about the issue and called for stiffer punishment in order to put the district on the right path again.
As a teacher or as a district, we do not want to be among those who are considered as non-performers as far as the BEC and SHS results are concerned. So, because if they do not do well at the basic level, it means they will not do well at the senior level, and therefore will not do well at the tertiary level. And if you do not have the right human resource, then there's no way you can develop as a district.
Rafiq Salam's report from Isa in the Barima Osei Asare district.
The European Union has assured Ghana of its readiness to assist it in trade, investment and aquaculture, among other sectors, to boost the Ghanaian economy. Head of the EU delegation, Claude Martin, made this known at an EU-Ghana political dialogue with Vice President Kwesi Amisa-Arthur.
The European Union delegation called on the Vice President to discuss issues including the EU's external assistance to Ghana, trade, investments, fisheries and aquaculture. The leader of the delegation, Claude Martin, acknowledged the fast-growing pace of West African economies and assured of the EU support in that growth.
It is about security, livelihood, jobs and opportunities that we have to offer to them when we have this type of dialogue. And so this is why it is very important that the wide range of issues that we have today on the agenda, we have to have in mind that the overall objective is to have a positive impact on the people's lives in Ghana and also in Europe, because it should be translated in a win-win partnership.
Vice President Kwesi Arthur was grateful for the visit and indicated that government was also putting in place measures to implement the objectives of the 2014 budget.
We have a national conference on the economy. We are holding it the week of 19th to 22nd May, and measures that we have to implement to achieve the objectives of the 2014 budget. The Finance Ministry has produced a document which we are refining, which we hope will be the basis for our discussion and for the continuing discussions with our bilateral partners.
The EU-Ghana political dialogue is the first for the year after one in July 2012.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned. Some 32.4 million Ghana cedis was allocated to the Savannah Accelerated Development Authority to implement an afforestation project in the northern region. Though the money has been spent, Joy News checks as part of our revelations on SADA indicate there is nothing to show for it. Rather, the supposed afforestation zone has been depleted after the natural vegetation cover was destroyed to make way for the project. Barima Osei Asare spent weeks touring the project sites and filed this report.
This is the SADA afforestation site near Pandai Senior High School in the northern region. Workers who took part in the tree planting project here are disappointed at the outcome. They've not been paid for 7 out of the 16 months they worked. But that's not all. The trees they planted are dying before their eyes. The story of SADA's afforestation project is worse in other locations. At the site near Bar Barracks in Tamale, about 70% of the trees had died at the time Joy News visited the site. At the Kamina Barracks afforestation site also in Tamale, not even a single tree planted survived. The situation in the Upper East region is worse. This is the SADA afforestation site at Boku Tampielum in the Boku Central Municipality of the Upper East region. In most of the sites we visited, we realized that there was no source of water. But just behind me is a dam. But all the trees here are dead. At the site near Zebila, also in the Upper East region, we realized a lot of the trees had died. The SADA afforestation contract was awarded to a construction company, ACI Construction Limited. The Upper East Regional Coordinator of ACI, Raymond Agbonto, took the Joy News team round the Winkogo afforestation site near Bolgatanga in January this year. He said the trees were withering because all workers had been laid off.
This place we planted about 4,500 trees.
4,500. It doesn't look like it's a good story here. What was the problem?
Basically, you could see that it's recently that the animals came in, on top of the ceilings. But we laid the workers off from 1st October.
SADA's afforestation contract with ACI Construction expired in June 2013. Documents secured by Joy News indicate that the company wrote requesting a renewal of the contract, but SADA declined. As a result, ACI Construction wrote to all personnel at the afforestation sites to vacate. This has since left the trees at the mercy of the weather and animals. Another reason given by the workers is the late planting of the trees. They said most of the trees were planted during the dry season. So, is the Sada afforestation project a success story?
We have been around. You see how hot the sun is. If the trees go 1 month, 2 months without water, it's a different story. And as you can see, the whole place is getting brown. When the animals see anything green, they're going to graze on it. So if there's no one to drive away the animals, there's no one to protect fire from getting onto the plantations, there's no one to water, it can be a success story.
But the immediate past CEO of SADA, Gilbert Sedu Idi, does not think so. For him, whether the tree survived or not is not the most important issue here.
You see, the focus was plant trees, create employment. So number one is, has employment been created? Number two, have the trees been planted? These are the two focal issues that we use to be able to determine the achievement or otherwise.
Joy News also discovered that the project has left the vegetation cover of the afforestation sites worse than their surroundings. The natural vegetation was destroyed before the trees were planted. The inability of the trees to survive has therefore left the sites worse than their surroundings. At Blema in the Sola Tuna Kalba district of the Upper West region, we discovered that trees in the forest were felled and some bent in order to make way for the afforestation project. The trees destroyed included economic trees such as Shena trees, which are considered the cocoa of northern Ghana.
If they show us the sites before the clearing, we tell them not to clear. But in some places, before you even get to the land they have for you, they are cleared.
But workers at the project site say they were forced to cut down the trees against their will. They say the cost of clearing the land before the beginning of the program was borne by ACI Construction, so they could not have cleared the land before the company came in. A former Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University for Development Studies, Professor David Miller, was one of those who first drafted the SADA policy. He condemns the method of destroying natural vegetation in order to plant trees.
I was the project director for Savannah Resource Management Project, a World Bank project. That was in Tamale there. We did everything about tree planting. We realized that there were more problems with tree planting than the natural vegetation. So we went into natural regeneration, where you try to manage the natural vegetation in terms of pruning and doing all the cultural practices. Within that, you can now integrate tree planting so that the entire tree population is part of the project.
We also discovered that some parts of the SADA zone do not need a afforestation project because of their thick forest cover. These are the areas where forests had to be cleared before the planting of trees.
I can say I was given a job to execute, and the job was supposed to be from A to Z. I couldn't have left out some.
Yes, but you could have told them that you asked me to plant trees. There are already trees here. It doesn't make sense to clear trees and plant trees.
You know something.
That is how our interview ended. He would not speak further, but former SADA CEO Gilbert Sedu Idi justifies the decision to plant trees in areas which do not need the afforestation project.
SADA covers 5 regions. Now, when you come out with an activity and some regions are completely left out, that in itself has got its own ramifications.
And let me give you a solution. For instance, you say, for let's say Techiman, you have a lot of trees. Bongo is a very a desert area. Its desertification is just taking over that place. So we are taking tree planting to Bongo, but with this same amount of money, instead of undertaking the tree planting project in your area, let's give you something else because you don't need it. Would that not have solved the problem?
That would have complicated it.
Joy News has learned that SADA has contracted UDS to count the trees and report on the survival rate. It is not clear what percentage they will put out, but what is clear is that the 32.4 million Ghana cedis has worsened the vegetation cover of most of the SADA afforestation project locations. For Joy News, Barima Osei Asare reporting.
always, here is where we give you the latest in business. My name is Abigail Adumaku Enchi, and talking about the latest, the Bank of Ghana will be issuing a 400 million cedi 3-year government bond on April 24. Deputy Head of Treasury Collins Enchi is quoted by Reuters as saying on Tuesday, part of the issue is intended to roll over maturing debt. The auction, which is open to offshore investors, will be the second this year after a similar issue in February attracted a yield of 23%, the highest in 3 years. So we'll be bringing you more on the government bond, but away from that, Ghana has banned the export of ferrous scrap metal to ensure there is enough raw materials available to sustain the local steel industry. The Trade and Industry Minister Haruna Iddrisu on Tuesday, April 15, 2014, told the media government was also drafting legislation to establish an international trade commission to deepen and enforce anti-dumping measures in Ghana.
To the Trade Minister Haruna Iddrisu, while steel manufacturers often complain they do not have enough raw materials to sustain the industry, a lot of the metals are exported to other countries, who eventually dump the finished goods in Ghana at a much cheaper prices. Haruna Iddrisu stressed that the ban comes into immediate effect and replaces current measures in place meant to ensure that the only scrap metal leaving the country was surplus to the needs of local industry.
It was an appropriate thing to do to protect and to ensure the sustenance of the steel industry in this country. We did it because that is the basic raw material of our steel industry. Unless we are asking them to fold up when they have no access to raw materials, you could not be encouraging the exports of those ferrous scrap when your own industrial establishment needed to have access to those raw materials.
He added that government would provide concessional loans to selected local firms, mostly small-scale manufacturers, to enable them add value to their products in order to reduce the country's excessive import bill. Matilda Pamagan for Joy News, Accra.
Now, the Executive Director of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Samson Asaki, is asking government to review the new axle load regulation as well as the ban on the importation of used fridges. He contends the move is making Ghana lose huge revenues to neighboring economies, which remain alternative routes for importers. The Ministry of Roads and Highways, through the Ghana Highway Authority, began implementing the axle load regulations this year to protect the road network from excess load, which they say sharply reduces their lifespan. The regulation kicks against the 60 tons maximum axle load limit allowed for a 16-axle truck. The Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, however, believes the regulations have backfired.
When you go to Togo, Burkina Faso, and Cote d'Ivoire, this is where the Mali, the Niger business that we used to get, because the axle load that Ghana says it was ECOWAS law and we've implemented it. Now, those countries are loading 68. Ghana says 60. So because of that, all the importers diverted their business there. It's reducing our revenue in this country. They should come out with the statistics to show that compared when there used to be axle load in this country, when we used to have our sister's country, Mali and Niger, doing business with us, and then we used to have used fridges come to this port, this country every day we are clearing the revenue we used to make. And when they started banning these things, implementing these policies, and when they started introducing special levy tax, and when they started also again adding VAT, they should come out with the statistics for us to see how deep revenue is in this country.
Samson Asaki was also unhappy about the current ban on the importation of second-hand refrigerators.
Because the banning of the used fridges, the importers are now diverted their the fridges to Burkina Faso and Abidjan. They clear there, they sell there, and they go back to buy. What it's telling you is that they will ship the goods there, the cargo there, they'll go and clear there, pay duty, like they're supposed to be paying duty for Ghana government to get money to do developmental things. You ban it and they take the business somewhere, they pay duty, and that country will be growing, that country will be developing. Your country will be depriving, your economic will be sinking. This is what is happening. So we think governments will rethink its decision. Environmental pollution, we all sign. Nigeria sign, Burkina Faso sign, Cote d'Ivoire, they are all signatories to it. They do not implement it. Why you? Why only Ghana? If they wake up now, Ghana will first people to implement. For what?
The ban on used fridges is meanwhile to reduce energy consumption as well as protect the environment.
The Institute of Economic Affairs has held a forum in collaboration with the Bank of Ghana to assess the Bank of Ghana's polarization policy and interventions if need be. Marian Turi has more.
The forum was on the theme The Bank of Ghana's Response to the cedi Crisis, an Interim Review and Way Forward. Addressing the issue, Dr. Benjamin Amoah, Head of Financial Stability at the Bank of Ghana, is of the view that the measures the bank took, though good in the short term, new policies must be put in place in the long term to change the fundamentals of the economy.
It's not a novelty we are introducing to the country. We are bringing everybody to where we should be internationally. So basically, I think these measures will work, all things being equal. If we listen to what Dr. Ashon advises, we have to be compliant.
Dr. William Boateng, Executive Head of Business Development at the Bank of Africa, however, believes though the measures are good, most importers are not finding banks a convenient place to transact business, leading to the creation of alternative markets.
Even for the 1 month that this has been in place, every trade volume before the banks have gone down. The importers are continuing their import activities, they are doing their transfers, they are not doing it through the banks. And what it means is that there's a parallel banking activity being created. You see, the liberalization of the foreign currency activities in the country post the 1980s allowed the banks to support the activities of the foreign currency and it reduced the activities of these parallel banks, like parallel banking activities outside the banking sector. Now, these measures seem to be punishing the banks, primarily because we are being restricted in all kinds of ways. We don't have any problem with that. As the area speakers have said, if you travel outside this country, everything that the central bank is doing right now makes a lot of sense, and that is what we ought to be doing. So nobody has any problem with that. The challenge is you do these things when your institutions are working, when everybody else is living according to the values that govern us as citizens of this country. When you don't have that, these measures put everything out of gear.
The Bank of Ghana essentially says it will look at the measures by month's end to ascertain whether some of the policies need review. Marian Toure, Joy News.
And that'll be all for business. My name is Abigail Aduma Quincy. Sports is up next.
We begin on the tracks now. We talk about Janet Amponsa, who's done fantastic. And Janet Amponsa produced a massive 200 outdoor personal best, running 23.05 seconds over the weekend to extend her #1 ranking in the event. The last time a Ghanaian actually ran faster than Janet's time was via the name in 2006. No sprinter wrote her name in history books after producing a massive 200-meter outdoor personal best, running 23.05 seconds to win the WTAMU Open in Texas on Saturday to extend her #1 African ranking in the event. Amponsa, who is currently schooling at the Western Texas College on a Ghana Athletics Association-sourced academic scholarship, blitzed to her personal new best, followed by Strickland Libby of West Texas with 23.7 seconds. The last time a Ghanaian woman ran faster than Janet's time was in 2006. Sprinter Vida Insia holds the current national record of 22.80 seconds, which she set at a meet in Clemson, USA on May 17, 1997. Janet followed her dominant display of the 200 meters event by running 11.31 seconds to win the 100 meters. The former Kumasi Girls Secondary School student has been in top form this season and leads Ghana's qualifiers to the 2014 Commonwealth Games and the African Athletics Championship. It will be recalled that Janet was part of the 6 young athletes who won 7 gold medals and national titles, 5 silver medals and 1 bronze medal at the prestigious JUCO Championships in March. Amponsa's time of 23.81 seconds broke Monica Chum's 13-year-old record set as a student at Texas Christian University. All right, let's move away from the tracks and get into the beach soccer arena. And after successfully securing an $18,000 from sponsors Carl Bank, the eagerly anticipated third consecutive season of Ghana's Novelty Beach Soccer Leagues will commence on Saturday, 26th April at the La Beach Soccer Arena. From Division 1 to Championship status, newly promoted Gulf Powers and Nima Beach Soccer Club are poised to challenge the big boys in Ghana Beach Soccer, including back-to-back champions Keta Sansa Sports and Ada Assurance. The second tier, which also comprises of 10 teams, would now also include relegated Tegbe Youth and Nungwa United, both keen to seek a quick route back to the championship. The weekend of April 26th will kick off the first round of the league games and will pause on June 7th to make way for the Black Stars' participation at the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, per FIFA's directive to end all running leagues for its flagship tournament in Brazil. A tighter coordination is expected, with the Ghana Football Association raising confidence of a rise in level of development. Two critical areas that will be immediate targets for improvement by the Ghana Beach Soccer Association is the organization of the league and seeking additional sponsorship to cover beach soccer's conservative annual budget of just over 200,000 Ghana cedis a season. Meanwhile, the Ghana Beach Soccer Association has confirmed that it's in talks with a number of corporate institutions to secure funds that will shore up the budget's deficit. In with this, a new sponsorship deal with Voltic Ghana, official thirst quencher, is expected to be announced later this week. At the end of the first round, a provisional team will be announced for the Ghana Beach Soccer national team, the Black Sharks. Notably, the Ghana Beach Soccer team are ranked 8th in African beach soccer by Beach Soccer Worldwide. Now, thousands gathered at Liverpool's Anfield Stadium this afternoon to mark the 25th anniversary of the Hillsborough disaster, in which 96 of their fans died during an FA Cup semi-final game. The supporters lost their lives in a crash at the Leppens Lane end of the Sheffield Wednesday's Hillsborough ground at the start of the match between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest on 15th April 1989.
Trending in Ghana fashion, are people still into the color-blocking craze or the Afropolitan look? Showbiz took to town to find out from people what's new in Ghana fashion.
Shoes, bags, accessories, makeups are the basic things that comes to mind at the mention of fashion. But as to whether people condone fashion or follow the current trend is what we set out to find out. And lo and behold, there are some staunch fashionistas in Ghana.
Okay, there is something called chinos, and it's the trousers, and it's like we put it up and you use a belt to tuck in. That's all. You tuck in with the top. That is called chinos. That's what I know. And also we call something certain hair called akaida. Okay. Yeah, there's something called akaida, and is the style is, you know, I'm a beautician, and the style is like it's a very simple style but very, very catchy too. Okay, so that's what I know.
That's high-waist trousers and those things we put on now. It's, if you could remember, those days our old grandfathers and grandmothers do put them on. We just do a little change of style in it, and we think it's a new thing now. It's just a repetition of the olden days, that's all.
But others also think fashion isn't receiving much attention these days, blaming it on the hard economy.
Nowadays, most people just put on anything. It's few people who are so much concerned about their dressing, because clothes are very expensive now. Yeah, because maybe to get your bag, you have to go and get the shoes and something, yeah. So people just put on anything to just go, yeah.
We might see something new as in today, but maybe it was in the system 10 years ago, and it's just coming back. Nowadays, due to the increase of fuel and all those things, like everybody is hot now.
Well, from what we've gathered, it appears many people these days are paying less attention to what's trending in the fashion world. To everything they say, have a season, and the fashion trend in Ghana is no exception.
Right, so there's chinos and there's Al-Qaeda, and apparently very soon there should be something coming up like News at 8. That's it for Showbiz. That's it for the bulletin. Before we go, a quick run through our top stories. Interior Minister hints of possible lifting of curfew imposed on Nankpandori in the northern region. Police confiscate hundreds of motorbikes in coordinated operation across the capital. It says it's part